여러분, 퀴즈 하나 내드리고 싶은데요. 한번 맞춰보시죠. 어린 시절 전적으로 엄마와 함께 시간을 보낸 아이들은 그렇지 않은 아이들과 비교해서 정서적 또는 인지적 능력 테스트에서 더 나은 결과를 보일까요? 어린이집에 더 일찍부터 다닌 아이들은 장기적인 행동 문제가 나타날까요? 두 문제의 정답은 모두 전혀 그렇지 않다입니다. 제 의견이 아니라 이스라엘에서 수많은 영재들을 교육해 오신 창의력 전문가 AR 도론 박사님의 저서 AI 시대의 양육의 재발견에 나오는 객관적인 연구 결과 데이터인데요. 이 책에 따르면 아이의 정서적, 인지적 역량에 큰 영향을 미치는 것은 부모와 지내는 시간의 양이 아니라 시간의 질이라고 합니다. 자, 그러면 어떻게 해야 이 시간의 질을 높일 수 있을까요? 오늘 영상을 끝까지 보시면 아이와 함께 보내는 시간의 질을 극대화할 수 있는 방법을 아실 수 있습니다. 스마트폰 최대한 못 쓰게 하고 컴퓨터 게임도 못 하게 하고 미디어 노출도 최소화하고 좋은 책 읽으면서 아이랑 대화하라는 그런 진부한 솔루션이 아니라는 점을 미리 말씀드립니다. AR 도론 박사님을 인터뷰 게스트로 모셨는데요. 국영수만 잘해서는 먹고 살기 힘들지. 학교 공부 말고 다른 한방이 필요한데. 평소 이런 생각을 해오셨던 분이라면 오늘 영상이 큰 도움이 되실 것이라고 확신합니다. 재밌게 봐주세요. Welcome to my channel, Garden Family. Dr. Ariel Doron, can you please
Yeah,
introduce yourself to our
yeah.
audience?
First of all, we passed the most difficult stage in this interview. You managed to spell my name correctly, which is like 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for that. I am a creativity researcher and facilitator, which means that most of my time is dedicated to working with managers, leaders, founders, scale up companies, corporates, different kinds of companies, high tech, different industries. But regarding this book, what I did on top of that is to travel to 9, 10 different countries and to discuss personally some of the topics with leading scholars, because it's not only about myself, it's scientifically based, and also in practice, it's like combined theory and practice.
You highlighted the importance of allowing medias and games. Can you elaborate?
It's a shocking idea, allowing your kids to actually do what they like. Our kids are surrounded by technology, and this is a wonderful window of opportunity. There's like silly, shallow, bad technology, but there is, on the other hand, more advanced, multi layered, and let's say open mindedness kind of technology. So it's not about how much time are you going to dedicate to watching or using your TV screen. It's about what do you see and how do you see it and how do you going to use it. So yes, there are different types of computer games. Okay, they are like very silly ones that you just, very simplistic, that doesn't ask you to do anything, which is going to be just pushing like the same button, it's wasting your time for sure. This is wrong. But on the other hand, there are like very complicated games. As a kid, you have to use your social skills. You have to interact with other people. You have to cooperate with people, even to learn the English language, to cooperate with different people from different countries. So it's not about how much time, what is the quality of the game. So instead of struggling with your kids about, let's say, the time that they're going to dedicate to that, stop with it, to count them down for like 20 minutes or whatever, this is blah blah. You should do the opposite. You should embrace the opportunity. So what I did with my kids and what we do with gifted kids usually is not to count the time that they use media. It's more into evaluating or reflecting upon what they've just experienced. What did you get from that? What did you discover? How was it? Was it better and more interesting than the last time? Why? So it's like an opportunity for us, parents and kids, to have a dialogue. So it's not the binary concept of good or bad because it's silly. Now, another point which is very crucial, there is the love of failure, because when you start playing in a complicated computer game, it's a given that you are going to fail because you learn on the flow, on the go. You have to try again and again and again. They learn it's fun to fail.
Exactly.
This is a crucial lesson for life. That what you should do with your kids is, and how can we implement it into real life?
That's the point.
Okay, so that's the point. So the point is not to struggle with them about the time, to time them up all the time, okay? Because they're not going to share with you. And you don't want them to hide from you. You want them to ask you and to consult with you. You want them to use you as their mentor. Now, I'm not saying that it's okay to play 8 hours a day. That's not the point. You should have like diverse spectrum of experiences. Okay, outside, indoors, with your friends, with books, with computer games, with TV screen, with AI, of course.
That's amazing. I feel
And
a lot better when
first of all, you should, because a lot of parents feel guilty about the fact that they allowed their kids to play computer games. And the opposite is true. And again, if this is a complicated game, all you should do is to ask your kid how you're going to connect between your wonderful experience here to other life dimension in class, at school, in break time. It's all about connecting the dots. And the world becomes so complicated, so accelerating. So you need to enhance your kids' intuition, your kids' original creativity. And this is how you start doing it. Even walking in the street, even travel as we do now. We are now in Portugal. So I with my kids. And what we do, we're in a small village. And you can come and visit here for 2 days and go out and without knowing anyone. But we are talking with strangers. We sit in the coffee shop. We address people. We ask them what do they do here and why. We try to find out the hidden secret path. We try to interact with the locals. We try to read a lot about it to really be engaged with the experience. So it's like this is another type of lesson. I'm not going to ask the AI or Google, where should I travel? I can read a lot, but then I forget about it and I walk by myself on the fly, on the go. I will try out what to discover. And in the end of the day, we're going to reflect upon it for 5 minutes. That's all, 5 minutes. And I asked my kids, what was some of your discoveries today? What surprised you? What was strange? And this, like a couple of minutes of conversation, creates the whole difference because it's not just going past, another city. No, it's being engulfed with the city, becoming part of the experience. So the answer is the creative person is very curious person. When you look around, when you become more attentive and you don't judge things by black and white, you are less strict and more flexible. So don't do it to your kids. Don't judge them in a binary concept. So it's their responsibility. And if tomorrow they're going to say, Daddy, I'm bored. Okay, great. Fine with me. I'm not going to be your circus. Okay. So what do you want to do with that? It's fine. Boredom, it's fine. Okay. So it makes you think. What's really interesting you? Do you have an idea? Let's try to create some interesting stuff. It's okay. You are their mentor. You help them find their own way. Because in the era of AI, if they're not going to be personal, authentic, creative, they don't have any chance. Okay, they have to come up with their own personality, with their own agenda, with their own authenticity, because everything is already there in the AI. Our chance is creating our original kind of thinking. It's not about being genius. I'm not a genius. It's about being a human being. So start doing it with little things. Let's say at school, have you met a new friend? Have you managed to discover a new inspiring teacher? The majority of them are boring. Okay, fine with that. But did you manage to find at least one that is inspiring? Okay, so try to be more proactive. Try to find what makes you being more interested. So it's like part of the new game. It's not about being an entrepreneur. It's not about being a successful person. It's about surviving in the era of AI. It's to be more human, more personal, and more creative. And that can be done. People ask me, what if I don't have it in my genes? Silly question, because you are all extremely creative, because evolutionary wise, your ancestors survived thanks to their creativity. So it's in your DNA, it's in your blood. What you have to do is to invite your creativity to be more active and vital.
I love the part where you allowed boredom.
This is so important, being bored, because when you have the experience of boredom, so then it invites you and forces you to ask yourself some essential questions. What should I do to make it more interesting for me? Because even if there is a boring class now, no one is going to control my imagination. So I can do like wonderful things in my head. Okay. So when my older son was much younger, he said that he has a very boring teacher. And I totally accepted the idea because she was really boring. And I said, you know what? She was so boring that we call her the champion of boredom.
You said
And
boring 3 times. I wonder how boring she was.
more than that, more than that. Now, the game that we invented is that try to find out how does she manage to be so boring. This is like a magic. She was like a magician of boredom. So you can play with reality. You can play with your curiosity. The point is, that it's not that you have boring school or less boring school. You have like people in one space and you have to create the most out of it. So it goes again to the same argument you have there. Screen time, computer games time, you have AI, you have your friends, you have the street outside, and your next family travel. How are you going to create your own personal path? Because cognitively speaking, AI already knows whatever was already answered. But now comes our opportunity to ask some new questions. They can be very little questions. How should I educate my kid? How should I make it more interesting for myself? How should I travel in my own way? It's about trial and error. It's about try to experience it on the flow and try to create your own personal touch. When my kids were very young, we went to sometimes to a museum. You know what's the first step I do in a museum?
What's that?
You have like guards in the museum, like in different chambers, they just standing there. No one is talking to them, okay, usually. So what I do is approach one of them and I ask them, hi, can I ask you a question? They are very surprised. What is the most beautiful picture, in your opinion, in this room? They say, why do you need my opinion? So you were standing here for at least like 2 weeks or maybe more. So I guess that you have an opinion. They might surprise you because they know the place. I ask my kids, what do you think about their idea? And the whole experience becomes so much more personal, not with the headphones. People are telling you where to look, what to think, where to go. No, everywhere. And you can create little games, and little games invite you to be more curious. Curiosity invites you to be more creative. And when I sit in a coffee shop, I address at least 3 different people, totally strangers, and they are a little bit surprised. And I ask them questions. It creates a lot of interesting dynamics. People are usually, in 90% of the time, are open-minded, are really ready to talk. And if not, I'm not going to be insulted. When I like a coffee shop, my kids know that I'm going to ask who's the owner, who is the designer. I'm going to ask them what was the concept behind it. And just sitting in a coffee shop can create like a whole dynamic of like from different perspectives and angles. It's just the drinking the coffee is an excuse to open the door for whole experience. You don't have to do it all the time, but from time to time, try to create this surprising, spontaneous interactions. Let's say to change our mindset regarding it. And this is the way you start practicing it in like little things you do.
Can I ask a question about homework?
But of course,
It seems like you don't really like homework. Can you
yeah.
elaborate?
First of all, it's not about me. As I said, I talked with like some of the leading scholars from the US, from Britain, from Europe. One of them was from Asia. They found out that after like 30, 25, 30 years of research, just to give you the magnitude of the research. So when you compare between like kids that did like wonderful homework and kids that didn't, and then you compare the scores, you are going to be surprised. Why? Because to practice, it is very, very crucial. I'm not saying that it's not. You can't learn math or mathematics without training. That's not the point. If it's like repetitive homework without really knowing what you are doing, without really knowing the context, just automatic on an automatic pilot, it's going to be very limited in the impact. So if you have a good teacher, a wonderful teacher, they can create a context. They can really explain to you what's going on. But in most of the cases, it's going to be automatic. So the point is about understanding. So it's not that you can't learn without practice. That's not what I meant. You can't be lazy and a very good student, but it's not enough to do the homework without the context. You have to encourage your kids to ask, why should I need it? What is it for? What is the connection between this lesson and real life out there? And you have to become a self-directed learner. And I mentioned always the story about Jack Ma, Alibaba's founder. When he was 12, he wanted to learn the English language. It was back then in the 70s in China. He knew that he can't sit for more than 1 minute. He can't read books. He just can't. He have to be on the run, on the flow with people. So you know what he did? He went to an hotel in his hometown in China, and he suggested to the like guys in the hotel to walk through with the tourists, the English speakers, and helping them navigate in the city free of charge. He just wanted to be exposed to their English. And you know, he did it for 5 full years. He barely finished school, but he managed to learn the English language in the dream school he designed for himself. So this is one of our major tasks to help our kids find out original way to learn. What is the most exciting and efficient way for them to learn? And if you're going to use homework as a simulation in order to reflect upon it and to find out what works for me, so fine with me. But if you could just go automatically doing your homework as if you are a responsible parent, it's irresponsible of you because it's not going to be enough for them. So while doing your homework, try to come up with more layers. How it really worked for you. It's not just like abstract philosophical ideas. You can do that. Use the opportunity. Like screen time and the window of opportunity, homework is another window of opportunity.
오늘 인터뷰 어떠셨나요? 학교 숙제 안 시키고 아이가 좋아하는 게임 시켜도 되겠네 라고 결론 내리시는 분은 없으시겠죠? 오늘 영상의 핵심 인사이트는 아이의 지극히 평범한 일상이 부모와의 대화를 통해 창의력과 사고력을 키우는 기회가 될 수 있다는 것입니다. 오늘 다른 건 몰라도 이 표는 캡처를 하시고 기억하셨으면 좋겠어요. 미국 캔자스시티 출신의 42개 가정을 연구한 결과인데요. 부모의 사회 계층에 따라서 아이에게 노출되는 단어 수가 다릅니다. 신기한 건 상위 계층 부모의 경우 직장과 지역사회를 바쁘게 오가면서 업무와 봉사활동을 하는 사람들이 많았다는 것입니다. 즉, 아이들이랑 집에 있을 시간이 더 많지도 않았다는 거예요. 특기할 점은 이 상위 계층의 부모들은 집에 도착한 순간부터 아이들이랑 이야기하는 것을 멈추지 않았다는 것이고, 하위 계층 부모들은 자녀들에게 헌신적이고 의사를 만나기 위해 아이를 품에 안고 1시간 동안 버스에서 시간을 보낼 수 있을지언정 대화는 거의 하지 않았다는 것입니다. 이게 시사하는 바가 정말 크다고 생각해요. 아이와 함께하는 시간의 양보다 중요한 것은 시간의 질이라는 것입니다. 이런 맥락에서 지금 내가 아이와 보내는 시간이 질적으로 괜찮은지, 이미 다가온 AI 시대에 내가 우리 아이의 경쟁력을 제대로 키워주고 있는지, 이런 부분에 대해서 깊이 있게 고민해보고 싶으신 분들은 AI 시대 양육의 재발견을 꼭 읽어보시라고 진심으로 추천드리고 싶습니다. 오늘 영상 어떠셨나요? 오늘 영상이 도움이 되셨다면 구독과 좋아요 부탁드릴게요. 영상 끝까지 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.